Hello, YouTube divers. This is Water Dive 122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of the podcast for high school sports all across Western North Carolina. Finally, after goodness knows how long, since the last episode, I believe it was during freaking basketball season when the playoffs were getting into the full swing of things. But we are finally back here again because football season is right around the corner for Western North Carolina schools, and by that I mean it's tomorrow. The first game of the season is tomorrow. But it's not just football that we're going to be talking about. We're also going to be talking some Brevard volleyball here today because they got a couple of big wins. So we'll go over Brevard volleyball, and we'll also take a brief look at Brevard's football schedule and where I think that this team is set up for this year. With a new head coach, with a brand new offensive line, with a brand new passing game, like a very, very young aerial attack, a new quarterback, new look defense, etc. We're going to get into all of that here on today's show. And yeah, let's get this party started. We'll start off with some volleyball action. So, as I said last year, Brevard volleyball is in a very, very, very amazing place this year. They only lost two seniors from last year's team, and that was Kiara Riddle and Amaya Harris, as I said on numerous occasions in the last volleyball season. Well, Brevard opened up with two big-time wins against West Henderson and Rosman. Arguably two of the best teams on our schedule, if not two of the best. And it's a really great start for Brevard because they have a brutal schedule to open up the year. Like, you have four straight games: West Henderson, Rosman, ACA, and then Rosman again and then conference play begins. Personally, Brevard beating West Henderson was the major surprise. Now, don't get me wrong. Did I think we were going to beat West Henderson? Absolutely. We definitely have the talent to do so, and they definitely expressed themselves fully in their big-time win. However, West Henderson also has a lot of talent too, and they're consistently one of the best volleyball teams in the mountains. And, West gave it a great shot. Brevard lost 3-2. West Henderson led 2-1 at one point. Brevard took the first set. West Henderson took the next two. And then Brevard took the final two sets to win the game 3-2. Now, with Rosman, it was a teensy bit of a different story. Brevard won all three sets, but it was relatively competitive. Like, Brevard won by like an average of like 7-8 points per set, which in retrospect isn't really that bad. Now, Rosman, like I said, they're coming off a great season last year. They were 17-4 a year ago. They finished with that record. They got kicked out in the third round to Murphy. And Brevard, of course, made it all the way to the quarterfinals, where they fell to top seed East Surrey. Now, personally, these two teams, arguably some of the best teams in the mountains, and definitely will be in the thick of it during the playoff race. Same can be said with West Henderson too. Brevard has another tough game on the road against the Asheville Christian Academy Lions, a team that they choked to last year, but I definitely believe that these ladies can get it done. ACA is also coming in with a undefeated record. They have gotten an earlier start to the season because they've played a lot of private schools, and they've won all their games so far. They're 6-0 right now, last time I checked. So, yeah, ACA always going to be a challenge for Brevard, but I think we can go into their place and get the job done. However, I would not be very surprised if ACA came out on top because, like I said, ACA is an extremely tough volleyball team. In fact, I believe they were coming off of a state championship appearance a year ago. I could be wrong. But, yeah. ACA, one of the best teams in the state. So, yeah. This is going to be a really tough test for our girls. But they showed last year they can compete with all the big-name schools in this area. So, yeah. I believe that this group can definitely get it done against the Lions. But we'll see come Wednesday when Brevard travels over to ACA to take on the Lions. Okay, now, with all that out of the way, we're moving on to the football team. So tomorrow night, the Brevard High School football team will take the field for the first time in the Luke Coleman era of Brevard football against the hated arch rival Pisgah Bears. Now, I'm going to make this very clear. I cannot stand Pisgah. I mean, name me a Brevard fan who doesn't have at least a little bit of disdain for Pisgah. These two programs are very heated rivals that go way back in the day. And honestly, obviously there's a lot of history to it and Pisgah has kind of owned the series as of lately. They have not. Brevard has not beaten Pisgah in 6 years. However, Luke Coleman is going to try and end that. He was a Pisgah alumni, so I think it would be really really good to see him get a win against his alma mater. Am I right? So, how does Brevard stack up against Pisgah? In my opinion, we stack up relatively well. Like the 2020 team. We have a very, very young team, mostly consisting of juniors and sophomores, with a few seniors sprinkled in here and there. I was told that we did manage to get a running back from T.C. Robertson. I don't really remember his name, but I was told that he's a great running back. He's going to be great in the rushing attack. So that's a great sign. You also, of course, have the return of Nashawn Griffin, Caleb Jenkins, and Jacob Stockton in the backfield, which, in my opinion, is a lethal rushing attack. As we saw last year, we did not really run the ball very much, which, in my opinion, kind of contributed to the poor season that we had last year. However, I do think that this will change a little bit. We have a new quarterback in Colt Swicegood, who I believe can really, fit in with this offense. It's a new look offense with a bunch of young stars on the team, most notably wide receiver Aaron Eubanks. Now, where do I see flaws with this team? Mainly the defense. I am a little bit skeptical about the defense this year. Like I said, they're very young. They're a little bit inexperienced, but Luke Coleman is setting us on a mission. He wants to get Brevard back to their winning ways. And if that's going to happen, there's going to need a lot of positions on this roster to step up. Most notably, the offensive line and the defense. Because, in my opinion, those were basically the two weaker elements of last year's team. Now, the offensive line has seen some improvement. And I am definitely very, very optimistic about this group. Hopefully they won't make Colt run for his life, but we'll see come tomorrow, because I know Pisgah has a great defensive line. They have a great front seven. They just have a great team overall. The secondary is a little bit iffy, I think. But like I said, I trust Coach Coleman. I'm willing to give him a shot, and I believe he'll do some great things for this program. Now, the wide receiving core. The wide receiving core is, in my opinion, just a little bit hit or miss. Like, I've already mentioned Aaron Eubanks. As far as I know, Jalen Carver is not coming back, which is a real shame. Because he was, in my opinion, one of the most underrated receivers in this area. Because, he can make big plays when you need him to. And that's exactly what you need in a great wide receiver. You need them to make great plays when you need them the most. And him and Kyle Lovett were, in my opinion, a super underrated receiver duo, and both of them are gone, as far as I know. I mean, Lovett graduated, and Jalen, as far as I know, isn't really playing this year. Now, I do think that this team has a lot of great potential, and I do think that they can stack up very well against Pisgah, who, for the most part, is returning back most of their group from last year, who went 9-1, I believe, in the regular season. Yeah, 9-1 in the regular season, and got the top seed in the 3A bracket. They fell in the second round to the South Point Red Raiders. They kept playing at neutral locations due to the damage over at Pisgah Memorial Stadium due to Tropical Storm Fred from last year. which is a real bummer because Pisgah had a fantastic, and I mean an absolutely fantastic new turf job, and just got absolutely destroyed in that frickin' hurricane. So yeah, that's literally the only saving grace I will give to Pisgah fans. Like, seriously, bro. Okay, now, on paper, Pisgah should win this game. But, yeah, really on paper, Pisgah should win this game. They returned most of their starters, as I've said, and of course, Brett Chappell definitely knows how to coach a great football team. Most notably, the two players that I'd say we have to worry about are, of course, quarterback Logan Free and wide receiver Caden Robinson. Now, do I think Brevard will beat Pisgah? I think they have a good shot. At worst case scenario, Pisgah is clicking on all cylinders and they just absolutely run us out of the stadium by like double digit points. Best case scenario, Brevard keeps up with Pisgah. They don't go down without a fight, and Brevard eventually claws their way back in it and they pull out a last second win. I basically have the latter in store for this game. Knowing Pisgah, they definitely will keep it tough, but I think Brevard can go into the stadium. It's opening night. Yes, there will be some growing pains as per the usual when you have a new team and it's week 1 of the regular season. But Brevard, I'd say they win this game 35-30, last second touchdown, all that fun stuff. And that's especially huge because right after that, we have to go on the road to play against the defending 1A regional runner-ups, the Robbinsville Black Knights, who we beat last year, but this time it's a little bit of a tables have turned type of scenario. This time Brevard goes to Robbinsville to play the Black Knights. And of course, that's not going to be easy. Not at all, in the slightest. Then Brevard has to play Asheville, who had a great year last year, but I think Brevard might give Asheville a run for their money, kind of like they did last year. Then we host Irwin. I think Irwin is a winnable game for Brevard, and then conference play kicks in with East Rutherford. That should be a win. East Rutherford's an extremely young team. I don't really know if they have the tools to compete with all the bigger schools, not just in their county, but not just in their conference, but in the entire state as a whole. And then you have frickin' RS Central, who we should have beaten last year, in my opinion, but hard cheese. Then we have the bye week, and then we have frickin' Chase, and then Patton, then Hendersonville, and then Polk County. Chase and Hendersonville are, in my opinion, the two best teams in the conference. They were the two best. They finished first and second in the conference respectively last season. And then of course Polk County is always tough. Our Central could make some noise this year. I mean, they definitely showed off the potential, even though a lot of the players from last year's team are gone. And then East Rutherford and Patton are probably the two weaker teams in the conference, but they can pull off some surprises, especially Patton. I can definitely see them winning a few games on their schedule, but really nothing that special. So, best case scenario, Brevard manages to win all these 50-50 games, and they lose to teams like Robbinsville, like Chase, like Hendersonville, and they make the playoffs with an 8-3 record. Worst case scenario, they lose games like to Asheville, to Pisgah, to Irwin, to RS Central, etc., to Polk County. And, of course, coupled with losses to Chase, Hendersonville, and Robbinsville, and Brevard finishes with a 3-8 record, really not having any improvements from a year ago. However, and then of course, middle of the pack, let's say at the very least, if they don't finish either 3-8 or 8-3, if they don't finish really bad or really good, I can see them possibly winning about 5 or 6 games this season. This is a very young team. They're going to have some growing pains throughout the year. The new head coach, new quarterback, basically a whole new team in general. I'm very excited for this season. I'm very excited to see what this group of Blue Devils can do. And hopefully, they'll lead us back to the postseason for the first time since 2019. All right, so with that said, that concludes this episode of freaking podcast for high school sports all across Western North Carolina. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is Water Diver 122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.